I call this regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Joshua Basin Water District to order. Today is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and the time is 5:01 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. General Manager Johnson, please conduct the roll call and confirm a quorum.
President Newell.
Here.
Director Fluen.
Here.
Director Fick.
Here.
Director Jarlsberg.
Here.
Vice President Short.
Here.
Are there any changes requested to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, so the motion carries. We will now open public comment. We have this time set aside for public comment on any district-related matter, whether it appears on the agenda or not. Although we welcome public comments, please note that due to the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. If appropriate, the matter may be considered for a future agenda. Also, comments should be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Water District. The board cannot respond to items outside its authority. At the discretion of the board president, I may ask that your comments on a particular item on the agenda be deferred until that item is heard later in our meeting. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. For members of the public participating online, please use the raise hand feature in your toolbar on Zoom to signal your desire to comment and be recognized by the board. Hearing none, the public comment period is closed.
Did you say that we had a quorum?
Yeah. Right. Consent calendar, next on the agenda, allows the board to approve routine matters efficiently while preserving any director's right to remove an item for separate consideration. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Wait, do I have to call it? See if anybody wants to call an item.
Oh, nobody said anything, so. Yeah, it looks fine. Okay, I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion, so we need a second.
I'll second him.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, the motion carries. So next on our agenda is item 7A. Yes, item 7A, agreement with Water Workforce Incorporated for recruiting and interim operational support. The recommended board action would be authorizing the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Water Workforce Incorporated to provide both recruitment services for the district's director of operations position and interim owner advisor operational oversight support as needed during the recruitment period. Following our discussion, the presentation discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the professional services agreement. General Manager Johnson.
So, Gina, our HR generalist, and I have interviewed quite a few firms to help us with this process. As you know, we've been recruiting for director of ops position for over a year now, and we really are in a spot where we need to find one sooner than later. We interviewed CPS HR, we interviewed Robert Half, and found that their prices not only were higher, but they not specialize in water talent. Water talent is very specific, and this job requires specific certifications. And that's where we ended up finding Water Workforce. Tonight, I have with us the CEO of Water Workforce, Brett Cadell, and he is here to discuss a little bit about his company and the services that we are asking to provide for our district. Good evening, Brett. Can you hear us okay?
Good evening. No, I can hear you guys great.
Okay. And Lisa,
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm sorry?
There's a PowerPoint presentation that was submitted.
Yeah, can I go ahead and share that or do you?
Can you make it so you can share your screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Just one moment. We're working with a new system, a Zoom webinar, so we're learning the ropes. You should have controls now.
Okay, there we go. Okay, can you guys see that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you guys having us out tonight. My name is Brett Kittle. I'm the CEO for Water Workforce, and Sarah essentially asked us to come out tonight and give a just kind of high-level overview of how we support agencies like Joshua Basin with hard-to-fill leadership roles. Tonight is about one specific role, the Director of Operations, and why the market has made it difficult to fill and what actually works right now through the services that we provide through Water Workforce. So this presentation is focused specifically on how we recruit senior utility leadership, not just kind of general staffing. We look at that in a couple of different ways, from typical job hiring processes. I think one of the aspects from a recruiting perspective is speed. Obviously, a regular recruiting process or trying to recruit for a job typically takes someone, anywhere from, I would say, 60 days to, 6 months, depending on the utility. So that's one thing that a recruiting process kind of offers outside of just the typical normality of trying to bring in staff. From my recollection, I think you guys have been looking for this position for about 14 months. So it's been a little bit, and I think you guys have kind of exhausted your capabilities at this time. Fit and certainty are definitely a high point of what we focus on. I think that where the industry is right now, it's hard, not only hard to get operators, but when you move up to senior management, supervisory levels, that pool shrinks even more. And we'll kind of go over that tonight in the presentation on kind of what that looks like. And effectively, at the end of the day, our approach is to build around that speed, fit, certainty, especially for management roles that don't respond to traditional hiring routes. So this slide here says plainly this isn't a Joshua Basin issue. It's a labor market issue. So you guys are looking for a director level utility role, and I can tell you that from across the board right now, that's just a hard role to fill. So just like we talked about before, that pool is very small, and I think when you can consider the geographics or demographics of Joshua Basin, that makes it a little bit more difficult to fill that position as well. We kind of talked about the 14 months, but I think, another aspect of that is because that pool has gotten so small, not only does demographics affect things, but the competitiveness of the market has started to affect things. I've seen some things up north that I've never seen, especially I've seen a little bit more on the management and supervision perspective, where they'll create incentives or different reasons to kind of bring people on board. But now I'm seeing it down in operator roles, where they're given stipends and bonuses and different things to come in as an operator, as opposed to just management. So it's become very competitive. What's changed in utility recruiting? I would say most qualified candidates and just people that you probably want in this role are not job hunting. They're not looking. So I think that, and you guys have seen that with the advertising that you've done, probably the candidates you've gotten or not gotten, that, just typical routes to normally get the people that you would like to have, we see just are not working. So I think along with that, with regards to job boards, only reach, obviously active applicants. And I think the way that we've looked at that is we have to reach out to those applicants. And we'll kind of get into this in a minute, but I think it's reaching out to the operators within California. We have a proprietary software that we use where we actually are able to put all 37,000 operators, water and wastewater, in our recruiting process. And so the benefit to Water Workforce and kind of what we do is literally reaching out to every one of those people within a demographic that we're trying to reach. And we'll dive a little bit more into that. So why our recruiting works and who Water Workforce is. Like I said before, I'm the CEO for Water Workforce. I've been in the industry for about 28 years now. I worked for agencies like Metropolitan Water District, WESA. Um, I was utility director for City of El Monte, and I think that perspective is what we bring to the recruiting aspect of what we do that I don't think anybody else does. Like you guys were referring to before, those were some pretty prominent recruiting agencies that she was alluding to. But I can tell you that a lot of times I'll see candidates that come from that have larger pedigrees, but at the end of the day, especially for where you guys are at in kind of the demographic you're exposed to, you're going to want somebody that takes ownership. That's not going to come there and after they get some experience, they're going to jump ship in a year for, a higher package. I think it's something that we kind of look a little bit deeper into, and we're able to see, kind of through our own operator lens of being in the industry and really kind of knowing what works and what doesn't. When it comes to the leadership roles, for the recruiting aspect of what we do, there's two of us. I'm a treatment 5, distribution 5. The other partner that I have is also, he's 5s across the board. And so, we have a lot of experience with not only operations, but management and kind of the aspects of, who works and who doesn't, and I think I can tell in a short period of time with a lot of these conversations I have, what people can bring to the table. And I think that vetting experience that we bring really kind of offers the client top tier candidates when we're done with our process. So our recruiting model, just like I alluded to before, we take essentially all the operators in California, we put them into our software, and if you can imagine kind of drawing a 45-mile demographic around Joshua Basin, what we do, and I had the numbers, they're not in front of me right now because I have too many screens open, but I believe there's somewhere around 100 candidates, I think there was 97, within a 45-mile demographic of Joshua Basin with the specific grades that you guys were asking for. And so what we do is we exhaust that list. So we go through that list, and we'll kind of go through a timeline here in a second, but we go through that list, and then from that, typically we'll end up with a smaller percentage of people that are interested. We vet those through our own internal vetting processes, and then of course we move anyone that kind of meets that criteria essentially over to Sarah and over to Joshua Basin for final interviews. And I think through that kind of target deliberated model, we're really able to get top tier. And I think that, I being in the industry as long as we have, I really haven't seen anything else be able to get to that level without literally doing that. There isn't. I think what's interesting is within the process that we have, when we're able to reach out to those specific operators, like we had talked about before, there's a lot of operators that aren't looking. And you'd be surprised on how many people that will call and make them apprised of the opportunity, and they'll say, you know what, I'll give you my resume, and I'll be willing to at least talk about it. And when someone goes to the same place for 10, 15, 20 years and they don't know anything different, And I think it's so interesting from an operator perspective when we have these conversations, and our recruiting experts have gotten really good at this, where they say, hey, there's a different opportunity, and here's the opportunity, and are you interested? And you'd be surprised how many people say, you know what, let me take a shot, and how many of those people we've actually gotten to move into a new role. So what the market looks like for Joshua Basin. So just like we talked about, senior grade operators within driving distance are very limited. Even with the 97 people that I just discussed, I would say probably less than 5% of that are going to be available or will probably meet the criteria that you guys are looking for now. Adding management experience narrows the pool further, obviously, because when I talk about those demographics, I'm talking about the people that have the grades. There are a lot of operators out there that have the grades, but they don't have the management experience. So that really starts to shrink the pool. And then lastly, the one thing that we do is, once we've kind of exhausted that pool, if we don't find someone that necessarily meets all the criteria with regards to the job description, sometimes we try to build in some flexibility with regards to grades. Sometimes we might find one of the grades, I think it's and Sarah or whoever's there can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a D4, T3. But if we can drop one of the grades, sometimes that obviously opens up the pool a lot larger, and then we can work on somebody that actually is getting that grade needed over the next 6 to 12 months, but they have the supervisor or manager experience. Or sometimes just you have someone that you can see that's going to take ownership and is going to want to, build a relationship and stay in Joshua Basin. I don't know how many people that we've brought in, even personally, to Water Workforce that I can see have the drive and ownership to not just show up in like a 9 to 5, even from a supervisor level. And those are the kind of people we invest in. And they might not have the pedigree, but we can see that they can do the job. So what you can expect from our services, it takes us about 2 to 3 weeks in the beginning with regards to all of our outreach. Not only do we use the kind of proprietary IP that we have with regards to calling all the operators, but we also do a lot of social media. We get a lot of contact from operators from that perspective as well, and that normally goes outside the demographic. And then from that, we'll come up with a short list, realistic vetted candidates. We vet them internally, and then from that point, that goes on to Joshua Basin. We can help with regards to some of the testing or the interview material if that's what's needed. And then with regards to transparent feedback, a couple of good things of going through this process is one, you're not only going to find, hopefully, the candidate that you guys want, but you start to create a network and you really start to understand like kind of what's available. If this person moves on in a year, 2 years, 3 years, we can jump back into that pool and it makes the process a little quicker. We kind of understand, and you would understand kind of what your market looks like to the nth degree. And then the other part of that transparency is really understanding what is available. And if that doesn't hit the mark, then we could start to make adjustments maybe with grades or demographics. So in closing, obviously the model that we build is specifically for hard to fill leadership roles. I would say what Water Workforce does isn't our specific kind of mission with Water Workforce is O&M. We do operations and maintenance for cities, districts, municipalities across southern and northern California. This is a specialty that we do have, that we do for clients, and we find it to be very successful. And like I said, it's really more along the lines of leadership roles. We do have clients that have used it for kind of senior operator roles, even operator roles where people just have gotten to the point where they just can't find anybody to come in and work for them. When we talk about delivering candidates, like we talked about before, I think this delivers top tier. I don't think you can get to a higher level than what we can vet through to provide Joshua Basin. And then, of course, provides backup depth and succession. So, we're able to kind of build that network that Joshua Basin can dip that back into if we need to look at something like that. And then it gives you guys a real choice in leadership. I think the worst thing that I've seen is, instances where, you post and post and post and finally you almost kind of give in to just what's available. And I think that there's methods that are better than that. And effectively, that's what our recruiting process gives. So this is how Water Workforce supports utilities when the markets get tight, by creating real options instead of, kind of forced compromises. So with that, I will open things up for any questions you might have.
I would like to follow
General
up
Manager
too.
Johnson?
Thank
Yeah.
you. Brett, thank you very much for making that very simple to follow, because not everybody has the insight of what it's like to go through a recruiting process. So that was super helpful. Brett and I talked about the agreement. He was very gracious in coming up with the 12.5%, which is much lower than others that we sought out. And also today, since the packet's been posted, we've had a subsequent conversation, and he's agreed to go to a 90-day period of time if we have a successful candidate. Like I guarantee that first 90 days instead of 60, which is what value the packet. So that's one little change I'd like to point out and then Brett for those considerations.
So I'd like to know if there are any questions or comments from anyone here on the board. All right, Vice President Short.
David Correa.
Let me ask everybody on the board and then I'll come back to public comment, okay? Thank you so much. I'm glad you have something.
All right, so obviously this is climbing up our priority list. So I kind of feel like we need to get something done on this and start. I really like that we're doing this. We're, leaving no stone unturned. I did have a couple of questions I wanted to bring up with this. If we go to page 2 of the presentation, I think it's page 12 of the packet of the agenda. Where it says all active recruiting or job advertisements by Joshua Basin related to cover positions shall be paused during the water workforce's engagement. Does that include any type of organic recruitment? Like, say, this is obviously a pipe dream here, but somebody comes in off the street that's perfectly qualified, comes in and applies for the job. Are we not allowed to
It's a
process that?
It's a great question, and one that we've also talked about. We have to leave the posting up on our website because we do have a retired annuitant in the position right now, and it's a requirement for CalPERS that we leave our posting up. So we will be leaving it up, but what the applicants will do is put in where they got the lead from, which would be water workforce or somewhere else. And then we'll provide that list to Brett so that he can say, yeah, I sent this guy to you, or I sent this person to you, but not this one. So somebody organically gets in there, we've talked about that, and it didn't come through them, then that would be handled differently. But what happens is once they start doing their work, it starts getting people talking, and it typically is because of the work that they're doing. That right now we've had this posting up, and there have been, it's been dead.
Okay.
So
Follow up on that.
Director Sloan.
He would still, I forget that all the time. He would still, that's Brad, he would still get paid though.
if it came from water workforce, if we for sure determined it was not because of their work and efforts, then that would be a different conversation. But we want them, they're going to take this on and do this work, and they need, to be rightfully paid for any recruits that they bring in the door.
And we haven't had much walk-in traffic regarding that.
It's been 14 months.
Well, fingers crossed.
Vice President.
This has been a notoriously hard position for our district in its history. It has never been an easy fill. It's been vacant for years before. So it's been notoriously hard. So I'm really excited to see what, help we'll bring to the table.
Vice President Short, please continue.
Okay, on the next page, the $5,000 retainer that is non-refundable. So that means even if we hire somebody or we find somebody the next day, we still lose that 5,000. I'm not really a fan of that. I mean, even lawyers give back retainers that are unused. So that's a bit iffy to me. I just want to throw that out there. I see as the as needed support with 155 being the highest hourly rate and down to 92. I could see that becoming snowballing out of control if we rely on it too much. I would like to see some guardrails put in place for that, something like a not to exceed amount in the contract.
So the piece that you're looking at there is a separate piece. Sorry, I don't have the contract in front of me, but that's effectively, there's two aspects of that you're looking at with regards to recruiting and our oversight. And I know Sarah didn't ask for that. And so typically when we're left with this perspective, you guys already have someone in that role facilitating what we would normally do. So if you had a vacancy, we would normally come in, kind of give you a CPO or give you any kind of management to kind of fill the gap while we're doing the recruiting process. You guys don't need that, but that's just in our blanketed contract. So we wouldn't be fulfilling, or you guys wouldn't be obligated to that portion. It was just available.
It's just available. Now remember that Ray is currently on a limited number of hours. His hours run out in May. I have nobody between May and June. So that's where this type of service could be.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like once we can't use him anymore. I mean, this could get out of hand.
It could, but it would always be budgeted within the salary that is for that role. That's what we'd be using as our guardrails. And the work needs to get done. It's got to get done.
Yeah. Sarah, what we could do with that too, and what we would normally do is just kind of set up a scope of work as far as what kind of management gap you guys would like to fill. You'd be surprised how many owner advisor contracts that we have, or I have retired annuitants, and they're stuck to that 940 hours, whatever the cap is. I just work in the city of Linwood right now. My guy just called me yesterday, said, "Hey, I got like 4 weeks left, and I'm going to be out of time." So I have to kind of like rotate staff. So I totally understand. But I think along with that, what we would normally do if you guys wanted to exercise that part of the contract is we'll just set up a scope of work. We normally set those up in two ways. And you're right, things can get blown out depending on how things go, right? So we would normally set a cap. We would set a cap. We would set a blanketed amount monthly. We would just design a scope of work on. Sarah would let us know, I just want this to be done. But then usually outside of that, and we try not to go outside of that, if there is any T&M, if you guys have any emergencies or something were to come up where you just need the help, and she needs the backup, that's the flexibility that comes along with that.
Okay, and how often will we get updates on this?
That would come from me, and
Okay.
I would tell you if we have a hire or if we're, that'd be my general manager's report.
Okay.
Yeah, where we're going.
And
She-
do we know a realistic compensation range?
The same salary that is posted on our publicly available salary schedule, and the top end is roughly 200,000.
Okay. Is there any type of incentives that we can apply to this to maybe attract more qualified applicants?
I'd have to be a book issue, and right now we don't currently have this. I think if we give this a try first, if this is
Yeah.
not successful, we may consider those types of incentives. So that would have to run through legal, we have to make sure, CalPERS, all these things have to be considered.
Yeah.
And finance.
I think one of the really good aspects kind of going down that same road that you're talking about is once we're able, because we're literally having conversations with all these people, and I think one of the things that's very valuable is we get a lot of feedback. So they'll let us know the range is low. I don't like where it's at. I don't like the benefits. I don't, will you pay me to move? There's a lot of feedback we get back. So when you're talking about the original reporting, after we do the first 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to say, all right, we called 100 candidates. Out of those 100 candidates, she made 400 calls because you hardly ever get anybody on the first try. And then these are the results. And this is, this is the summary of the feedback from the original candidates. And this is how many we're going to vet. So it'll start to kind of go down that road. And then if we don't, and if that vetted portion of when we're done is very slim, then we'll make recommendations, just like you alluded to. Can we do something that gives a stipend to move? Can we do something that puts them at the top of the range? And I think even with the contract that we gave you guys, there's a questionnaire I think that Sarah already filled out that alludes to some of that flexibility. Do we can we go to the top of the range? That's one of the big ones. Is there any flexibility with some of the benefits or what you guys are offering?
Okay. And can you remind me what number you said of the people that live within driving range of the district?
Yep. Hold on 2 seconds, and I will bring up that email.
97?
It's a different number.
So, actually, going back to the last one that I sent over to Sarah. So for T3, D3 certified operators within 40 miles, there's 29. Within 50 miles, there's 84. Within 60 miles, there's 137.
Okay, and have we cross-referenced that with how many that we've received applications for, screened, or interviewed yet?
They're not gonna see our
Okay, so that could be lower.
if some of those are duplicates,
Yeah.
yeah.
And last one on the same page. It says water workforce will provide a one replacement search at no additional cost. So can you expand on that a little? Is that just one additional candidate or just one more search?
Well, effectively, we're normally able to go back to that same network. And so if you guys had, if there was a 2, 3, 4 that we could still consider, that would be part of it. But I would say, even within 2 or 3 weeks, we don't completely exhaust the list. We do the best that we can, but there's some people you're not going to get a hold of. So normally she would go back to anybody that didn't answer, that she wasn't able to get a hold of, or kind of we didn't finish the conversation. So part of that due diligence would be done, and then we would go back to any of the candidates that weren't used.
Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, thank you, Director
You know what you mean?
Last minute.
Short.
Short, I'm constantly doing shook and short, but anyway, I appreciate all those questions, so that I don't have to ask them, but I had a couple of things. Would our current kind of volunteer operations director have any role in the vetting of candidates?
So all of the candidates we vetted, they'll still come through our internal interview process, and he'll be on that panel.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I figured that, but I hadn't heard. Yeah, and I think I want a little bit more clarification on the replacement search. If did we decide that if the person resigns or is terminated within 90 days, was it? We thought would be better. Is that agreed?
We agreed
Potential?
on the 90-day.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so, and that would be a search as opposed to one person. I just want to make sure that's how I understood it.
Yes. Certainly.
Like going back to the list that haven't actually been, finalized at some point. Okay,
Is that correct, Brett?
Yeah, I'm sorry, she was a little hard to hear. Were you guys talking
Oh.
about the 90 days?
no, actually, the, replacement search, if the person, does leave, within the 90 days. It's a search that would include anybody that on the recruitment list that didn't actually follow through or didn't complete the vetting or,
Just one that wasn't selected. They might
yeah,
not
one
do
that wasn't selected, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we would go back to that same network. I mean, that's the only network we have to go back to. So outside of that, like I said, there is an opportunity that we can either lower the criteria or open the demographic. I know that you guys wanted to stay within a certain demographic because of emergency response times. Totally understandable. But obviously, the more we open up the demographic, then the bigger the pool gets. So, but we can look at all that, once we've kind of exhausted the criteria you guys have set.
Yeah, let's hope it isn't required, but I was thinking that over 90 days, certain things might have changed for some of those people that you did talk to. Like they decided they wanted to move up here and they would, be happy to do that, or something happened in their family where it was more urgent to get the new job, or, I mean, there's any kind of things that might come up. So it seems like you might be able to go back to the whole list that and kind of start over a little bit. I don't know.
Absolutely. And that's what we would do. And you're right. I mean, circumstances change all the time. People's minds change all the time,
Right.
especially ones that we're talking to. Sometimes it's just, kind of getting in enough position that they just, do what they need to do to move. So,
Yeah, or
but
they
no, we
might,
would.
just have been thinking about it overnight and change their mind. Or we might change our mind too on the person.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Or the summer might change.
yeah, the weather might change their mind.
Anyone else have any questions? Director Fick?
Yeah, Director Fick here. On the question of, I'm trying to understand, on a director of operations, is there a scale to this? In other words, Metropolitan Water District, do they have one director of operations, or do they have, on this level, it's like, we're a small district with a lot of area, so we're a little unusual in that sense. But is there a kind of a marcation of director of operations as far as the scalability of their oversee? In other words, instead of having 5 or 6 employees under them, having 20, 30, 40, how is that classified?
I hope that nobody has 20, 30, 40. That was going to be an impossible range of people to wrangle in. Every organization is set up a little bit differently. We try to look at the trends of our competitive, I call them our competitor agencies, because we, would compete for staff for sure. And we look at the way they're structured and the way we're structured, and we all kind of, follow suit of what that is. A large organization like Metropolitan, I bet there's a lot of director of operations in their own special departments. So I wouldn't even begin to compare ourselves to them because it's just such a different organizational setup. If you're asking, is this position comparable to other agencies for the type of role? I'd say that the answer is yes. There's just not a lot of agencies nearby to steal employees from.
That, and my observation is housing prices are dropping, so I hopefully
Yeah.
whoever it is will come and move to the
And
area.
hopefully they are an avid hiker and they love the park.
Right.
All right, Director Flowey?
Yeah, I've noticed, in our staff report and also on page one of the quote, it says, owner advisor interim support, which may include, and that would be operational continuity support. And, could you talk a little more about what that is and whether if it's on site or not, and who you would be talking to?
So remember, we have, Dave here that is an interim director of operations, and he's for a limited number of hours, and very concerned those hours could run out before the end of the fiscal year. If that happens, there's a gap in services for a period of time that's not healthy for us. That's where I could ask Brett to step in to help with certain assignments that fall under the purview of director of operations. So this is it's a backup situation that we probably won't have to explore, but it gives us a backup option in case we need it. For Ray's doing those tasks to the best of his ability in the very limited number of hours he has right now. But when we run out of hours, there's nobody. So we have to have somebody to kind of help us with those.
I have a question.
Would that, noted, is that here? One of his folks, Brett's folks have
It's
come,
not supervisory necessarily. It could be, we've talked about that as well. But it could be regulatory reports that we need assistance with, and that could be done remotely. So it'd be dependent on the arrangement and what it is that we need, what we can do in-house versus what we need to outsource.
Director Fick, did you have a follow-up? or-
Yeah, the water workforce, I saw the address at Yucaipa. Is that where they're based?
That's my understanding. Is that right, Brett?
Yeah, no, we're out of UHEPA.
Yes.
All right,
We're close.
Director Flowey?
so when you, I guess the term is get a bill for Brett's services, they're gonna be itemized. Correct, and it's not gonna have a single figure on it saying pay to the order of, it's gonna be an itemized kind of thing, something similar to some of these things I even see in here.
Yes. So part one of this service quote would be the recruitment part, and part B, sorry, is part A and part B. Part B is that owner advisor oversight be a separate situation, and we may not need it. I just want it as a backup plan in case we need it.
What I'm getting at is, with what Director Short was initially talking about, is that you will see bill, there's charging all of these specific services, and if you see something on that bill that you have a question about, you'd call them up and ask them a question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be billing for anything that he wasn't authorized to go and do.
I wouldn't think
He's
so.
not gonna go and do our
It would be just a
annual
question.
water loss report without being asked to do so.
That's all from me, Madam President.
Anyone else with anything else? All right. But just a couple things. I think I appreciate that having chosen this organization to help us, and Brett, thank you for being here. I just wanted to say that if we did have to use them for the owner advisor operational oversight, at $155 an hour, that'd be roughly, almost $300,000 annually. So that's not, for a consultant, that it's not too far from what we would have been paying a director of operations. I'm not saying that's a solution. I'm just leveling it. So just a couple of things. I think the last time we had a director ops was 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I think it was in 2020. Right around that time. So it's been a while. I'm interested in how do you market this area, because I would like to know that you're following up with these candidates with images of this place, because this is considered one of the most beautiful places in California, and it's a high selling point. And I would want that to be stressed. And there's plenty of material online to show that. And I'd want it to be pushed instead of just relying on them to go find it. So you hear me on that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys, so as soon as we get things going, you could just follow us on. We do the majority of our recruiting through social media. So you'll see things on Facebook, you'll see things on LinkedIn
Oh.
and Instagram. Is the three genres that we use. LinkedIn's probably our most successful with regards to reaching out to people and people reaching back out to us. But no, absolutely.
All right, and then another thing is, it's been alluded to and touched on here, and I know you said that you would get some feedback and circle back to us, but I want to make sure that to ensure the success of this contract and this project, that he has all the ammunition he needs. And I want to make sure that we are nimble enough to respond if he says to us, well, we need a stipend, we need a sign-on bonus, we need these things. So I want to make sure that we strategize, that we're not slowed down by the board process to get that going. So
Some leeway within the policies of the handbook, for some of those things. Anything that's outside of the scope of what the handbook allows would need to come to the board. And that'd be a simple policy change, but there's lots of ways we can come about it.
yeah. So we want to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful here, Brett. And then so I think that's it, unless anybody else has anything. Oh, Director Pick?
Well, emphasis on your part as far as Joshua Tree goes, because I had a dear friend who was headhunted into this area and they said near Palm Springs. That's all.
Yeah.
Emphasize this Joshua Tree. We are novel. We're a novel territory.
Okay, now I'm opening up the public comment, and I would like to call on Citizens Advisory Council Chair David Carrillo, because I believe he had a question
I did. Basically, it was,
or comment.
it's kind of covered already. It was how are you selling our water district to potential candidates? And so is that going to go before? I mean, because there's two ways we could grab them, put the worm on the hook. One is, through the social media. And then the other one is sitting at the table in front of the panel. I think it'd be better on grab them in the front end and then maybe add some later on if they're a little iffy. But you covered that. Is there any tidbits that you can give us right now? Of how what's the size of that worm that's on the ground?
Well, the worm is the salary and benefits package that the district already offers. That's, the big.
So it's substantial or competitive.
We are, yes, we are definitely competitive. We actually had this, Brett and I had this discussion already. He thinks that the salary is marketed right for the position. The hard part is locations. And yes, we're desirable, and yes, property values or homes seem to be becoming a little bit cheaper, but it might not be quite enough yet to get somebody here, especially moving expenses are really expensive, those kinds of things. So we have the board has been very gracious and provided a very nice benefits package. We need to do a good job, and I'll work with Brett to make sure he knows what all of those things are so that he knows exactly what he's selling.
Okay, thank you.
I think, yeah, that was a good question. President Doolittle here. So do we have any ability to provide moving expenses with the way that?
Not in the current handbook.
Okay, so that would have to be a special policy put in place, right? Okay. All right, so are there any other public comments? Anybody online? Is there, oh yeah,
If there is
General Manager Johnson?
Thank you. If there is a motion, I would ask that you make the motion with the update to the service quote to 90 days with the replacement search and not to exceed the salary budget for the fee. And that way we can work on an agreement with what everyone here has talked about.
Not to exceed salary B.
Salary budgeted for the director of ops position is listed in section B of service quote.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve item 7A, which is an agreement with Water Workforce Incorporated for recruiting and interim operational support with the update to the service quote of 90 days and the not to exceed salary budgeted for the Director of Ops as in section B.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
General Manager Johnson, a roll call vote, please.
President Doolittle,
Yes.
Director Flynn,
Aye.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Jarlsberg,
Yes.
Vice President Short.
Yes.
The motion carries and it was unanimous. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Brett. Be in touch very soon. We appreciate it.
No, thank you all. I think thanks a lot for the thoughtful questions and insights tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to support Joshua Basin.
All right.
Thank
All right, you
you.
guys, take care.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item 7B, which is an award bid submitted by Paso Robles Tank Incorporated for the E2-1 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project. The recommended action at the conclusion of the discussion is to accept and award the Paso Robles Tank Incorporated the lowest responsive and qualified bidder, the E2-1 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $655,688. And we're going to, with that recommended action, we will authorize the general manager to execute the construction contract and related contract documents. We'll now open it up for staff presentation followed by board questions.
Very good. Well, thank you. I believe, you, as the board, have followed along on this project, dating back, I believe it's been on my desk since 2022. We went through the RFP process with the successful support of our Dura engineering firm. We learned a lot through that process. And we have conducted the RFP, collected the bid, had the bid opening, and I've been very fortunate to be able to delegate a lot of these tasks, raised on a lion's share of it, and I've been able to delegate a lot of the administrative tasks to David Schiff, who's been super helpful in this process. So I'm going to pass it to David so that he can tell you a little bit more about it.
Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. This has been a really exciting process and an excellent learning opportunity for both of us. So it's been a pleasure to take part in it. So the E2-1 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project will extend the life of the district's water shortage facility and improve safety, operations, and regulatory compliance. The project was competitively bid in accordance with district policy, including a public notice, mandatory pre-bid conference, and a public bid opening. After review by staff and the project engineer, Paso Robles Tank, and there's a typo in the staff report, my apologies, it's PASO Robles, Incorporated was identified as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder with no bid protest received. The $655,688 contract is within the approved project budget, and staff recommends board approval to award this contract.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Vice President Short?
Yeah. So I went and looked at the budget and I saw that it was, the budgeted price for this was $871,000 with a savings of $215,312. That should be in there. Come on.
But we're not done yet.
Oh,
okay.
The engineering support for that.
Gotcha.
So we will bring you the savings when it's all set.
Okay. We got to celebrate our victory.
No, it is a victory.
Yeah. One more question. What in the world is a doghouse manway?
It's a good question. I think Ray would have a better explanation than I would, but I'm gonna give it a shot. You need access into the reservoir from the ground level to the top. So if imagine a door, it's kind of a rounded door, it looks like a doghouse door, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
It's a dog door.
Doggy door. We're humans.
Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, actually, I remember seeing it on the tour, so when we go on the tour, I'm sure we'll get to see it. And this is exciting, it's been a long process. And I'm sure Director Sloan is going to mention this, but we've been talking to the neighbors too, who are going to be impacted by this. So I'm happy that we're they're on board.
Minimally impacted. We've
Oh,
also
yeah.
developed a great relationship with them too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And I wonder how we came up with the number 655,688.
And that's Paso Robles tank that they submitted their bid, and that's the number they came up with, and how much it will cost them to do this project successfully.
Is it broken down in any way?
And it's in the packet on page 27.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, that's what he was looking at. I
and-
was thinking, it's your notes.
I will say that we gave you a very truncated version because what they delivered to us in their packet was, 3 weeks ago.
48 things.
Not including
thank you.
the actual RFP of nearly 500 pages. They're 426. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of paperwork.
Sorry, I didn't get to this
That's
page.
okay. It's
So
it's a
I'll look
lot
at
to
it.
take in. It is the lowest responsive bidder
And qualified.
in qual, most
You
important.
want me to go?
Director Flowen, Director Flowen?
Thank you. Well, this is, well, rather substantial. Somewhat technical too. I was intrigued by these parts where, I might be, we're looking at Ardura's stuff here too. By the way, we did, Director Jarlsberg and myself did go out there and visit some years ago. And we talked to Bryce and Hasmina out there, who are the nearest residents to the access to the hill that the tank is on. They didn't recall who I was, but Bryce remembered my Jeep. But anyway, I had about a 35-minute, 40-minute conversation with him about all kinds of desert things and such. But the thing that we agreed upon that were somewhat concerning was the noise level, which would be related to the time they start working and the time that they end working. But as I mentioned to the general manager earlier, it will end at some point. And I thought I saw something in here about the duration of the project, which is 90 days, was it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Bearing in mind that everything costs more than you think and everything takes longer than you think. But, that would be a good, also they, Hasmina, she was concerned about her weekend noises from weekend construction, and that probably is not going to happen. They're not going to work on the weekends.
Yeah.
And something that I thought about too while driving out there and back was road damage by the equipment that is going to be taken out there. It seems as if once it's taken out there, it's going to be deposited someplace on the hill so that they're not going to be driving back and forth with giant tractors and stuff every day. Is this the one where we're going to put up temporary tanks also? I assume it is.
Yeah, we already have done that part.
Indeed. So that was done on the refurbished road that I saw. Also, I was afraid to drive that road in my Jeep, by the way, because I was by myself. I didn't have Jane with. But that was kind of, generally speaking, their attitude was an accepting attitude. They know that it's got to happen. They understand that. They know that there's going to be certain disruptions and stuff. Their house is relatively close to the road. It's within a few feet of the road that's going to go up and back from there. But if there is, one of the things that I would personally like, and it's not a demand in any way, shape, or form, because it might not be practical, is that we have some opinion of the condition of that road that goes out there, because La Brisa might be one of the ways you go, or a north-south road from Aberdeen, whichever what you guys determine is the most practical. But take a good look at it before the project starts, and then look at it afterwards and see if there's any repairs that we need to make for any damage that we may have done to the road. I think would be good for all of the folks that live out there, that kind of a thing. And from what my general impression is that we always do that anyway. especially the center, which goes out to well 13. I've noticed that's pretty well maintained.
Do our best to put it back better than we found it.
And these, this part here where, I think this is in the Ordura thing, so I'll skip this one, I think, until later. The part where it says that certain, I guess certain, requirements or certificates or something were not provided. Do you want to talk about that now or later?
There are a couple of items in here that, Director Fawn pointed out on page 33 of the packet. One is the, center of the page says number 5 not provided. So we requested that we get 5 references, and they provided 4. That's not a very big deal. They did provide very lengthy amounts of references. And then F3, I need to verify with Ordura what F3 is, but it has to do with their insurance, which is something we'll consider as we move through the contracting process, but nothing of concern.
I will mention now too that Ordura, just above that part, they say that Paso Robles tank has significant history of performing construction services on public projects undertaken by California public agencies. Within the past 5 years, a bidder has demonstrated the extent of their experience on public projects with over 50 contracts as prime contractor and over 100 contracts as subcontractors. The bidder provided several pages of resumes and project references as a supplement to this proposal. So that is a comfort for me.
It's a lot. Yeah.
That's all.
Or so pages of.
References.
Director Fick, you have something?
Well, I'm the newbie on this one. I wasn't aware where E2 is or whatever. I assume
Yeah.
it's one of the bigger reservoirs we have.
It's not one of the bigger ones. It's a tall one. It's on the northwest side of our district. All dirt roads in that section, and kind of a more remote area of the district. So all of our tanks are on a list. Ray has actually worked with the production team to put a list together, and they're working on prioritization. We should probably be doing one of these almost every year, because we have a lot of tanks. We have 17, so you're going to need to rehab them. And this one had structural issues. Most of them are going to be paint and recoats, but this one was a little bit bigger because of the structural piece that needs to be done.
All right, Director Flowen?
Some time ago, I don't remember what it was, we had a presentation on a tank that needed to be refurbished. We had a video.
It was this one.
It was this one.
Yeah.
A side note on that was that 2 of the directors, me included, thought the tank was empty when the video was done, which is testimony to the clarity of the water. I'm looking at Jade.
Oh.
Yeah, we thought the tank was empty. The water looked so good.
We have the tanks are on rotation to be dove each year. It's pretty interesting because you get, a man in scuba gear climbing the tank and goes in, and they can make repairs that way, and they do inspections to see what's going on inside there, and then we get those reports in the video, and that's what helps prioritize what tank needs to be done next.
Thank you.
All right, so just President Doolittle here, is that video of that tank, that tank dive, is that online or on the website?
No, but I can definitely make it available for you to see if you'd like to see it. But no, it's huge, and it would take up a lot of bandwidth, maybe a portion of it, but it's a really long video.
So for those of us who don't know, a couple things. One is I've been impressed with this process. Good job on the whole process, and I'm glad that there was someone to help. But good job with the staff. But some people may not know that the drive to this tank is harrowing. It's right, isn't it? Like one of the worst?
It's not the worst one.
Oh, it's not the worst?
A1 is our worst.
Oh,
one.
okay.
That one is harrowing. That one I never think.
Yeah, that's where we went. Yeah, okay, okay.
This one does have an interesting entrance, though. We have easements on a couple of properties to get into that tank. And it is a more challenging one, but not the most.
Okay. And then I'd like to just know if there are any ideas, how long will this work last?
3 months.
No, the rehabilitation work, once it's completed, how long will the improvements to the tank last?
That's a really, really good question.
Just any idea, I didn't know, yeah.
How long has it been since the last time it was?
I don't think it's been done. It's been there since 1982, I believe, so still a very long time. I don't know the answer, only that I can get it for you. Yeah.
All right. Director Dawsberg?
Yeah, just a last minute thought. When Director Sloan and I were up there, one of the concerns by the neighbor was that if the road was improved, they already have people riding their ATVs in the area, especially if there's a nice new road. And there was a gate that was locked. I just couldn't, what kind of security will be happening during these 3 months of activity?
Well, we can't control the ATV riders, unfortunately. Everything will be behind a locked gate for whatever equipment is stored up there. And then we're just going to put the road back in the same or better condition than when we start the project. But, a lot of that's county land out there, so it might even butt up against possible BLM land, I'm not sure.
Right.
So there's not a lot of, anything that we can do. We're not road service, so we do everything that we can to make the customer happy within the jurisdiction of what we're allowed.
And would there be a possibility of a camera there that could be monitored
There's already cameras in that site.
up at the top though,
Yes.
right? Not at the gate.
I don't know if there's.
Well, even something that
Yeah.
Covers the bulk of the.
Yeah. It's not gonna cover the customer's property though.
Oh, no, mostly just the entrance
Yeah.
to the fun road that goes up.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it. I haven't seen it in a little while, but that site is one that we have a lot of security coverage.
Yeah. Okay.
President Doolittle, I have a follow-up question. Will Paso Robles be using all their own equipment, or will they be using any of the district's equipment? Because I know that we have equipment that's related to this kind of work.
No, they would use their own.
Okay. Is there any public comment or any questions? Okay. Hearing no more board discussion, is there a motion to approve item 7B?
I'll make the motion.
Is recommended,
It's a motion.
is there a motion to accept and award as recommended the bids submitted by Paso Robles Tank for the E21 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $655,688 and authorize the general manager to execute the construction contract and related contract documents? So we have a motion to accept.
And I'll second it.
There's a second. All right. Manager Johnson, a roll call vote, please.
President Blower.
Aye.
So sorry. President.
Yes, yes.
It's been a while, that's 3 years. Director Blowin,
Another aye.
Director Fitch,
Six
Yes.
votes.
Director Johnson,
Yes.
and Vice President Park.
Yes.
All right, motion carries unanimous. Moving ahead to agenda item 7C, which is the E21 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project engineering services during construction, and that's a professional services agreement, which is also an action item. The recommended action at the conclusion of this discussion is to authorize the execution of a professional services agreement with Ardura Group Incorporated to provide engineering services during construction, including welding inspection services for the E21 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project in a not to exceed amount of $91,689 and execute all related documents. As this is an action item following the presentation, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement with a roll call vote. I'll now recognize General Manager Johnson for introductions and presentation of the item.
Thank you. I do have an answer covering the last 20 years, and Ray says, "Oh, thank you." Ray's monitoring the meeting right now. So the next part of this whole rehab is we need construction support from Ardora. Ardora has seen this process from the beginning, and we'd like to see them see it all the way through. Even if Ray were here full time, he would still want this kind of construction support. We are not rehab specialists. We deliver water. That's our job. That's our expertise. So we have Ardora here tonight, and they are proposing to be the construction support during this process. And I'd like to introduce Leah Russell. Hi, Leah. Can you hear us okay?
Hi, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me and see me as well?
Yes,
Yes.
I can. So Leah has been an excellent resource through this process, very patient and definitely handheld, and we appreciate her so much through it. And so now she can discuss a little bit more about the next steps. Leah.
Thank you. Good evening, President Doolittle, members of the board, and everyone. My name is Leah Russell. I am a project manager with Ardura. And I believe in this meeting, I also have Ryan Houston, principal engineer. So I'm not sure if he's connected or not. I know he can hear.
Could you see if you could promote Ryan? Thank you.
So yeah, I'll go ahead. I don't know if Ryan's going to be able to connect.
We're trying right now to see if we can get him on there.
Yeah, we're in separate.
It takes a minute to promote somebody. It forces
okay.
them off and then back in, so it takes a second.
Okay.
Ryan, can you hear us okay?
He's muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So as Leah mentioned, yeah, my name's Ryan Houston, principal engineer working with Leah and the Ardura team. So pleasure to be here this evening.
So Ardura, we're an engineering consulting firm, and we provide design and construction management services for water clients throughout California and also nationwide. So as was previously mentioned, we recently completed the design for the E21 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project, and we hope to also be providing the engineering support services during construction, which will be including coating and weld inspections. So the project includes the tank upgrades that were mentioned, including the reconfiguration of the overflow structure, the replacement of the inlet-outlet piping, as you mentioned, the doghouse, and also recoating of the tank interior. So construction is expected to commence in early March, and the expected the construction duration is 120 calendar days. I do believe Paso Robles, they may have said they could do that sooner, but in the contract documents, that's the duration we have is 120 days. So hopefully they'll do it sooner. But we have really enjoyed working with the Joshua Basin team, and we're excited to continue supporting the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. And I apologize, I misspoke. I said 3 months and it's 4. It's 120 days.
Told you.
Yeah, thank you.
Always
My
longer.
mistake.
Okay. All right. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Maybe yes. Director Vlowen? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was curious about a couple of things. Well, at least I made a comment. I have a comment. What as far as having engineers and experienced, competent people, this is actually a very technical thing that we're undertaking here. And what their mention is made in all of this about the inspection of the thickness of the coating that's put on the tank, and that's measured. And how do you do that without taking a chisel with you and putting something under a microscope, you know, you wouldn't do that. There's some other way that they would X-ray or something like that, I suppose. Another one that would
I think
be.
they go through the doggy door to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's used for a lot of things, by the way. Another one would be, you know, a stainless steel ladder is mentioned. And if this tank is steel, you're attaching a different kind of metal. And so I don't necessarily know you can even weld that. Something stainless steel to something that's steel. And so there's a special way that you would do that. A lot of people wouldn't know that unless you know what you're doing, that kind of thing. And I was kind of pleased to see that there is going to be several inspections all along the way on this thing too. Something I was concerned about or interested in, it might be the same thing, is on-site supervision of the people that are doing this work so that we know, for example, taking off the old paint or surface, whatever it is, how much of that has to be taken off before you can apply something new over it. A lot of that kind of stuff, a decision should be made right then about if the cleaning of the old surface is enough, that kind of thing. And also I was interested in how many of our own people are going to be going up there and looking at what they're doing and supervising, not so much supervising, but in looking at what they're looking at, what they're doing up there. But it was a curiosity too that we were getting sort of an audit of the bid before we had hired Ardura. That was a curiosity to me too, but
if the bid isn't accepted, then there would be no hiring of for this portion. So that's the reasoning for the ordering of this on the agenda.
see, here's another one, weld verification. Somebody's got to go up there and count the pits in a weld or some such thing. And it's all of this stuff is going to be heavily inspected and tested and stuff like that. So personally, I have confidence that our engineers and our people that are actually going to do the work are going to do a good job.
And staff will be involved in a limited capacity. There will be internal checks, going up there and doing inspections, but we're really going to be reliant upon our Ardura's team to help us with that piece.
Something that I would kind of like too would be a contact person here for the residents out there. So if they see something or have a complaint about whatever, that there's a human being here that would assist them with answers rather than them walking up the hill to talk to people that don't represent us so much.
So we would want to route everything through customer service. That's how it gets documented, and then they would route it to the right person.
Yeah, okay. I made enough noise, thank you.
Director Fick?
Yeah, no, I just had an odd thought. Is the county involved in any of this? In other words, do they have county inspectors look over these kind of public agency projects?
No county involvement in this project. It's a district-owned project.
Okay, thank goodness.
Director Johnson?
Yeah, just a couple things. Mentioned that your work would start in March. I'm curious, when in March, the beginning, the end, the middle? And how is it coordinated with what the tank Paso Robles is doing? Are they both gonna be working up there at the same time in March?
It'll all be coordinated to start together and
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
They'll be probably a little protracted.
Who's coordinating between the two?
That it's going to be staff. So Rain will be coordinating a
Oh.
lot of this.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And then what happens to any materials that are removed? I'm sure there's gonna be kind of toxic.
A good question. Ryan, do you have?
Yeah, for sure. So that will be the responsibility of the contractor. So they're responsible for removing and dispose of all equipment from the existing tank site. And we did do some lead testing as part of the design process, and it was determined that the existing coating system does not contain lead.
Oh, well, that's good. Will we know where it's ending up? The waste?
The contract, we will not, the contractor is responsible for removing, disposing of it in a legal manner.
Okay, well,
So they
that's
have
a bit of a
ultimate
range, but, okay. Anyway, that's one of my concerns, obviously, and all of our concerns.
Yeah, and then if I can just go back to the question about the scheduling. So we are starting potentially in early March, but we do anticipate the contractors the first 30 days or so, they'll be submitting what we call shop drawing submittals that Leah and myself will be reviewing and approving. So we don't really anticipate them potentially mobilizing until April. And then probably being at the site for maybe 2 to 3 months once they mobilize. So they'll be providing a construction schedule, at which point in time, we can share that with Sarah and the rest of the team, if any notification to the public is required.
Thank you.
President Doolittle here. I'm interested in that construction schedule because I'm assuming that the district's going to do the door hangers thing where they announce to the customers in that area that this construction work is going on with the door hangers. Haven't we done that in the past? Is that going to be done?
There should be no impact to customers other than there will be some vehicles on the road, but it's up on a hillside that's kind of hidden between two peaks. Nobody's really going to see anything that is going on. It shouldn't be disturbing to customers, and they shouldn't have any water changes. They wouldn't even know what's happening other than they might see some vehicles going up and down the road.
Okay, well, loop back to us if that, turns out. I'd be curious to know because I think it would be nice if the customer service had that construction schedule or some idea to be able to say, it's going on now, but it'll be over soon.
So customer service will have that schedule,
Okay,
and we
great.
will have information to share in case a customer does call, and letting them know any information that's pertinent about their particular home residence in that area. And they'll have a list of exactly who is fed by that tank, so they'll know which customers could potentially be affected.
All right. Hearing no more board discussion, are there comments from the public here in the boardroom or online? And if so, online, please use the hand raise reaction option. Citizens Advisory Council Chairman David Carrillo.
This seems like it's a good fit with everything going on. See why it shouldn't be accepted. Excited to get it going and get it done for what they are saying. So I think the ratepayers would be very happy with what's going on. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, hi, we have a member of the public, Jeff, who's that? Walters, has something to say.
I have a question. Has Ardura worked with Casa Robles before?
We have, yes. We find them very experienced contractors.
That was my question.
Good question.
Thank you. Director of Administration, David Shook.
If I may, my interaction with Ardura has been limited, but they are top notch, and this isn't to try to coax you to accept their proposal, but the bid process is very detailed and very scripted, and they helped coach me through, which was my first time doing it, and it was amazing. So thank you to you both and Ray as well for that. So everything from posting the bid opportunity online and in public spaces. The hardest part that I went through was my dual letter opener would not open the packages that came in. So everything else along with their guidance was really easy. So I guess my point is my interaction with them so far has been great, and I'm looking forward to working with them again. That's being said. So just my 2 cents.
All right, is there a motion to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Ardura Group Incorporated to provide engineering services during construction? This also includes the welding inspection services for the E21 Reservoir Rehabilitation Project in a not to exceed amount of $91,689 and to execute all related documents.
Motion. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to accept and award as recommended. General Manager Johnson, a roll call vote, please.
President Doolittle,
Yes.
Director Flowen,
Aye.
Director Fay,
Yes.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yes,
Vice President Short.
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion for item 7C has been approved unanimously. Thank you so much for being here, Ardura. And we'll move
Thank you.
on. Yeah.
Thank you
well,
so much.
Yeah.
Have a great evening.
Good work.
I will note that there'll be a post-construction report for the board when this concludes.
Okay. Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next item, which is informational only. It's item 7D, the December 2025 check register. It's presented by the Director of Finance, Ann Roman, who's been remarkably quiet this evening, being here at the end of the agenda.
All right, well, thank you so much. Yes, the much anticipated December 2025 check register. This is a mid-level dollar-wise check register, $526,667.04. For the main check register, a payroll processing register of $3,383.68, utility refunds of $2,576.87, and director stipends of $5,800. I won't touch on all of these specific situations, but I wanted to mention that throughout the check register, you'll note that there are reimbursements to several employees for certification exams, CPL permit, and safety boots. There are also mileage and expense reimbursements to several directors and several meter reconciliation refunds as well. And having said that, I'll start on page 67 with Amazon near the top. Amazon Capital Services. We purchased toner, uniforms, file folders, calculator ribbon, whiteout, American and California flags, yellow door hangers, and a document scanner, among other things. That page, pretty routine. We have CalPERS on that page for employee and employer contributions. However, I don't see anything that's too much of a standout. Any questions or comments on page 67? Page 68, we have at the top a tour in Maine, and we purchased some inventory items there. 21-inch cork stops, 21-inch adapters, 900 feet of copper pipe, and 21-inch angle meter stops. We also have Duffy or Doofy, I guess it's Duffy Power Service. Doofy, is it? Right, good to know. With annual generator maintenance that they did for us. We have Home Depot credit services on this page, purchased parts for a dead end flushing riser, white paint, 2 Sawzall, a torch kit, and a razor scraper. And again, there are a couple of those items that I pointed out earlier, some employee reimbursements, some director reimbursements. Any questions?
Director Jarlsberg?
I'm just curious where the generators are used. The two of them.
The generators?
Yeah, that were
I think
serviced.
the large ones, right? It's the 2 large ones. Yeah, we have several emergency generators. They can be used at any of the well sites when they've been to a power outage, and they have to be serviced and run through testing on a regular basis.
So they haven't necessarily been used for a while, is that it?
I don't know the last time that they've been used. We keep track of all that. I don't know that off the top of my head.
No, that's fine.
We do keep track of that because some are, we have to report all of the districts to the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District. So there's another reporting there. So we want to keep them in good shape and keep us in a situation that if we have a power outage, that we can still pump water.
So are they for administrative building and the garage or where?
That's a good question. So the administrative building outside the store here, there's a fence that is a permanent generator that's on the list this year to be replaced. That's just for this office. The ones that are on this list that are serviced are generally the ones that they're towable and they can be moved from site to site.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Just curious.
Page 69, we have the middle Mojave Water Agency with a recharge water purchase, 338 acre feet at $629 per acre foot. We have Muniquip social, yeah. Interesting name. 4 chlorine pump repair kits from them. Below that, we have NDS, who is engaged in several things for the district. In this case, it was the cost allocation plan, which was later renamed the indirect cost analysis. And this was the final invoice for that project. And near the very bottom, I had mentioned in my staff report, this was the first invoice from Rojas Public Affairs for legislative advocacy. Any questions or comments on the page?
Director Drawsworth?
Yeah, is that, how many of those 5,000s? How often are they here?
Once a month
For the
for
real
3
house.
years.
It is once a month. Yeah, okay.
Page 70. In the middle of the page, we have several invoices from SWRCB, the State Water Resources Control Board. One of them, the largest one, is for High Desert Medical Center. That's reimbursable. And the others are for the district. We have Ultimate Motors near the bottom with several vehicle repairs and installation of emergency light bars, upgraded a vehicle's hitch to enable towing of a large vacuum trailer, cleaned throttle body, excuse me, and replaced a rear bumper support. And then starting and near the bottom of that page, we have the credit cards, which is our US Bank corporate. The first one is mine. And that is including CSMFO annual membership, the California Society for Municipal Finance Officers. We have David's at the very bottom, and that one included monthly Adobe subscriptions, an oil change for a vehicle, clean truck tests for 4 vehicles, office staff uniforms, and district infrastructure documents from San Bernardino County. I think that was mainline extensions.
Easement.
Easements. Oh, okay, easements. Good to know. Questions on page 7?
Vice President Short?
Yeah, for the Ultimate Motors Inc., now that we've hired a mechanic, and once we get them trained up, can we expect to see these drop off?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we have a gap there with
Okay.
Director Drawsworth?
Yeah, my question was on that same, but different, same item. How many vehicles do we have and what do these numbers signify? Do we have 46 of them?
Well,
No.
it started at 1962. So we just keep it up from there. Yeah, that's a good question. And we have a very comprehensive list, and we have a source of truth, which is Asset Panda, that keeps all of that information. Roughly 20 trucks, but then this doesn't include equipment, it doesn't include heavy equipment, it doesn't include trailers, it doesn't include dump trucks, it doesn't include service trucks. So yeah, I can tell you this, we're short a couple of trucks if we're fully staffed in operations, things like that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to page 71. We have a very top US Bank corporate, that's our credit card, and that is Sarah's. That included a Trello subscription, director training for Aqua Region 9 event, HR Essentials certification program, clean truck tests for 2 vehicles, employee training for a drought reporting compliance and public notice training, employee training and hotel stay, I should say. And right near below that, USA Blue Book, pipe supports for well 15. And then we have West Coast Civil, which I had mentioned in the staff report. That was just the beginning of our general engineering contract with them. And Western Pump, right near the bottom, that was for repairs to fix leaking bulk fuel dispensers. Questions on that page?
Don't appear to be any.
All right, so the total of the regular check register, 526,667.04, and I'll move on to page 73, which is our payroll processing register. That one includes, actually this month was quite high with the FSA, the flexible spending account transactions. Those are employee funded, so
That total for the FSA was $2,308.24. $1,044 was the payroll processing portion, and $75 the FSA processing portion of that check register. Questions there? 75, page 75. This is the utility refund register. Largely, these come from the deposits that customers place on their accounts. In this case, we have a couple of unique items on there. The very first check listed was voided. I believe the check was actually returned to us, and then it was voided because we were able to find an active account to transfer the credit to. And the next check was a situation where the customer had overpaid significantly, and so we were able to refund that to them. And the rest of those checks are routine, again, deposits coming from customer accounts, primarily once their accounts are closed. And questions? Page 75.
Oh, Director Jarlsberg?
Just quick, I noticed that most of them are done on the 17th of December. Is it one day that you do on a month when you do this kind of thing?
No, they are typically done with every check run. However, sometimes the timing just works out that way because of the holidays. I think it probably worked out in this way. We do have a bit of a waiting period for refunds because we don't want to refund too soon. If there's a recent payment, we have to make sure that doesn't get returned before we refund to the customer. But yeah, we usually do that a few times a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. And then we have page 76 through 79. Yeah, 76 through 79 for the director stipends. And we have a lot of, we have fall conference on here, Aqua Fall Conference, some training, some regular board meetings, and that totaled out to $5,800 for the director stipends. Any questions on those pages?
Are there any comments or questions from the board overall on the check register? All right, seeing no further questions, is there a motion to receive and file the monthly check register? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. Item 8 on our agenda is director reports comments. This time is reserved for director reports and comments on matters within the district's jurisdiction for informational purposes only on subjects not covered by the agenda. Please note that the opinions expressed by individual directors do not necessarily reflect those of the board as a whole or district staff, and no immediate action shall be taken. Who would like to report first?
I guess I'll go.
All right, Vice President Short.
Just real quick, we're wrapping up the general manager's review tomorrow. We were able to get it done in 2 meetings, so I'm happy about that. And I just want to thank everybody for getting their reviews done on time. That's it.
Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, I'm going to be attending a TAC meeting of the TAC committee, I guess, of MWA tomorrow morning. I'm looking forward to it because I haven't been to a TAC meeting in a long time, and they tend to be the more interesting meetings that MWA holds. And I'm doing it because President Doolittle will be busy with something else. And on the 26th of January, attended the Association of the San Bernardino County Special Districts dinner meeting, which is always a good thing to do. I usually wait until the topic of the presentation is of interest. But the meeting itself is well worth going for networking purposes and getting to know, because it's a wider group, it's not just water people. I happen to sit at a table with fire people, which is always interesting too. And then there were a number of reports, a short report by LAFCO representative. And they said they're doing a new evaluation of their general manager. I think they're asking for people if they're interested in running for not any of us, but to the people that they were talking to, if they're running for the offices on that group. And that's just Southern California. That was and then Chris from CSDA, who handles PR, had several statutes. One was a federal statute that he was saying needs a support letter. I don't know whether we're prepared to do anything like that, but it's HR 2766 if you're interested in following up on that. And then SB 707 was the Brown Act, which has just made things more complicated for us. Thank you, Jeff. And that CSBA is fighting the EV mandate for electric vehicles in the various CSDAs. And let's see, AB 810, apparently they were not wanting it to pass and it didn't, so they reported that. And these are state issues. And SB 827, which requires training in financial mandates. They set a training for September 9th. And I don't remember, I didn't make a note actually who's would be interested in that, but let's see. Then there was this discussion about AI and why it matters for water utilities. I wrote down that it's more tricky now, which I'm sure you folks are aware of. Ransomware and exploitation is pretty rampant. They're saying that it's a higher volume of issues that are happening right now. But the one interesting thing was this fella, I don't remember, there are two names listed here, but it's Technologic is the name of the organization. And the presentation took about 25 minutes. It was fairly long, very comprehensive, lots of visuals on the screen. And then when he was done with his presentation, he asked for questions and everybody in the room looked at each other and said, I have no idea what he just said. So anyway, it's something to look. I mean, you could go to the website. What I figured, I would go to the website and study a little bit, but it was definitely over our heads. There's so much going on and so many verbiage too that made no sense, very technical. So anyway, I'm glad I went, but didn't learn much. But I do like the reports that are given for LAFCO and CSBA. And that's it.
Well, thank you. Director Fick?
Yeah, I'll follow up on that one. I also went to that dinner, the ASB dinner. And yes, the main speaker for the AI attack of cybersecurity, he didn't adapt to the crowd. His lingo was for specialists in AI. And so he didn't have the connection that he should have. It was his job to do that. Also, they have also included short presentations in this dinner. It's a new format, and I'll get back to you on the person, but there is a group that is Energy Program Manager, and they're about planning and regional programs for supporting small agencies like us with energy projects. And that seemed to be the best hook for that entire dinner situation. So I'm happy that we went for that situation, and I'll follow up on it a bit more. But the rest of it was, it's interesting, and we do network. So.
All right, Director Flowing?
It piqued my curiosity about this generator for the office out here. And I glanced at my copy of the budget. I didn't see anything in here for the replacement of that thing this year. So after the incident that we had a while back now, the thing has been repaired or modified to where it is reliable now?
It's been repaired, but it is due for replacement. It is in the capital budget, not in the operating.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
we've been soliciting bids for the job and we did finally get one. It's been really hard to get one and it's way more than the budget.
For the benefit of Jeff, our audience tonight, our audience of 1+, we went through the check register, but that isn't the only thing we do when we go through the spending that takes place here. There are protocols for money that goes out of this building in the form of checks. And all of the board members who are of the community, we are not of the water company. We do not have offices here. We are outsiders. We represent you. And so all of us have a signature card at the local bank in Yucca. And no check goes out of this place without one of us reviewing them first. Two staff members usually sign them, one or two, depending on the amount of the check. If it's a large check over $5,000, it has to have 3 signatures on it, 2 staff and 1 of the board members. For example, tonight we went through the checks and there were 2 of them to buy the water that you drink. We store it in the aquifers and pump it up to the tanks. The electricity bill to do that for a month, by the way, is usually around $40,000 for Edison. But my point is tonight, for example, I signed 2 checks to buy the water that we drink. It's right here. And one of them was for $177,000. And the other one was for $258,000 to buy the water. But we look at that and we ask questions about any checks that we have any issues with or why we're doing it. But that's one of the things that your board is doing for you. Thank you, that's all.
All right, President Doolittle here. Just a few things to tell you. One is I suggest everyone follow Water Workforce on social media. As Brett said, that they are going to be using social media to promote looking for that job. It wouldn't even hurt if you liked the post because then that would also get it more visibility in social media. And I have some upcoming governance training, working hard as president here, trying to do a good job. So I'm going to see what I can learn from that. And then I've requested an update to future director meetings with this content. We're gonna have some content before the upcoming director meetings, and it's gonna be taken from the admin code. And it's going to say, well-informed and engaged board members are essential to sound decision-making on behalf of JBWD ratepayers. One core responsibility of an individual director is participation in general manager meetings, training and educational conferences, meetings with other water agencies regarding JBWD-related business, and engagement with local, state, and federal representatives. These activities are important as they keep directors focused on issues affecting the district, ensure JBWD has a seat at the table, and support collaboration, grant awareness, and understanding of emerging legislation. You just heard some of this from Director Jarlsberg, speaking of legislation. Director attendance is critical to effectively representing JBWD's interests at multiple levels of government. As the public face of the district, directors' presence at JBWD-sponsored events, such as tours and celebrations and industry association meetings, demonstrates JBWD's commitment to public engagement, leadership, and active participation in shared solutions. So, okay, so that's pretty much it. would entertain, we're complete, are we done? Oh, agenda items, yeah, manager's report. I did that again, and I have that on here, so sorry. Now, oh, hi.
Can I just ask of the source of what you just read?
It's from the admin code with just some minor edits.
Which is available online?
Yeah.
Okay, just.
All right, JBWD's admin code.
All right.
So, yeah, sorry, I skipped ahead of that. So at this time, for agenda item 9, I'll turn it over to Sarah Johnson for the general manager's report. If any director has a question of General Manager Johnson, make a note of it and hold it until the end of her report. General Manager Johnson?
Okay, thank you. You recall at our last board meeting, there was a little bit of a scuttle about letter writing campaign and getting that done in a timely manner. So today that the CAC completed a letter writing campaign, collected roughly just under 200 signatures in support of the effort within just a few days. Letters were submitted to several legislators, including Assemblymember Wallace, Senator Ochoa Grove, as well as to State Water Resources Control Board and Division of Drinking Water. We've been since then receiving confirmation that they've received these letters. In addition, Rojas has taken that letter and they are going to turn it into a board letter for your consideration at the next board meeting so that you can also sign on to this initiative. And essentially what the initiative is, it's telling the legislators, it's telling the policymakers that we are having to comply with this new MCL for chromium 6, and we need extended timelines in which to comply, and we need money in which to do it. That's the essence of the letters. So you'll see that letter for the board's consideration at the next board meeting. And thank you to the CAC, to Dave Rio, and to Kathleen Radnich for their efforts, because they really scrambled to get that together, and I think it might make a difference. I did get personal email from our DDW Division of Drinking Water folks that they received it, and they're the ones that we're working on our compliance plan with right now. So hopefully your voices were heard. Well 15, if you remember, is in a rehab. It remains offline following the rehabilitation. Staff are addressing testing challenges related to the well being inactive since April of last year. They've been conducting controlled flushing of well 15 this week, and they're limiting the flushing to approximately 1 hour at a time to minimize potential roadway impacts. That site is kind of an ideal. It's a tiny little parcel, and it's more of an easement on someone else's property, so there's not a lot of room for flushing. But we need to do flushing and chlorinating so that we get the proper samples. As soon as sampling results are acceptable, the well will be returned to service. So we're in this waiting pattern until we get it properly chlorinated and flushed. It's very normal after a rehab, especially if it's sat for long, but can be troubling because we want to get it back online. Also, profiling that well is delayed until we get it back online. So we've got a couple of things holding back. Good news, we've had 2 in-house promotions. Anywhere is a longtime employee here and has really risen through the ranks, has been promoted to our new production supervisor. So we have a supervisor in the field, which is great. We really think he's going to be very successful. We've considered it for a little while. This time last year, he was still getting his bearings. This year, a whole year later, he's really he's made a lot of strides. So we're excited to see where he's going to go. Great. And second, we have Hillary Rogers, who's at our front desk, has been promoted from customer service 1 to customer service 2. And she is a smart lady, and she really digs down the details. I don't know if you want to speak about her.
I think you nailed it. Yeah, she's going to do well in this role.
So nice to have that, additional layer of.
Yes, now we have that kind of what's the term? Chain of command from the 1 to the 2 to the building supervisor to itself. So I think it's going to do well for us and our customers too.
Good. And on the 20th of January, Ann and David and I participated in a county-led kickoff meeting to begin the preliminary planning for Joshua Tree subject to sewer project. San Bernardino County outlined the effort in an early exploratory phase focused on coordination, review of existing water studies, and development of public engagement strategy. Partial funding, as you know, has been approved for planning only. They estimate a 2 to 3 year planning and design timeline with any future construction contingent on additional funding, regulatory approvals, and property owner support. District staff emphasized the importance of clear and proactive communication with the community to address cost concerns, impacts, and the involvement of JBWD in future meetings. Lisa will provide you a copy of the minutes from that meeting here, and she'll also provide you a copy of the CAC's letter for your reference. And finally, on the 28th, I attended the first annual, it's monthly based on leadership meeting that Supervisor Morale hosts, students attendance at that meeting. But several regional issues were discussed, and some of the key highlights include December 29th was the highest single park entrance day revenue day last year. They generated roughly $90,000 in park visitation just on that one day, which is a big day for them. But what they are seeing is a trend downward. And why I bring this up, because it's not our jurisdiction, and because it could impact our water. They're seeing a trend downward in the last 2 years of visitorship, which might impact Airbnb and everything else. They also talked about fires, and they noted that primarily fires are lightning strikes, but recently there's been more human-caused fires from visitors in the park. So just notable information. On the employment side of things, both Bureau of Land Management and Joshua Tree National Park folks reported significant staffing shortages, with BLM, Bureau of Land Management, operating at approximately 30% staffing levels with no near-term hiring anticipated. So it just underscores the hiring challenges that we're all faced with. We don't work a lot with BLM, but we do have right-of-way access to some of our sites and have to talk about, the cost of that with BLM staff, and it's really hard to get them now because there's so few of them. And then last but not least, it also could impact future water. Morongo Unified School District reported that enrollment has declined to approximately 7,000 students from what it used to be roughly about 10,000 in recent years. So they have a period how they are discussing possible consolidation of programs for the future, which could impact, our sites as well, because we can serve water to a couple of the schools. With that, that's the end of my report.
Director Fick.
Yes, when you deal with PLM, are you doing with Barstow or Palm Springs?
Palm Springs would be Riverside. So my interaction has been with San Bernardino, and they've been based out of Barstow. Yeah. Oh, one last piece. Sorry, I was on my backside. This is just not good news, but something you probably already know. But the state legislator's office reported an $18 billion shortfall in California state budget.
Director Jarlsberg?
Yeah, a couple of things I forgot to mention in my report, but it kind of feeds into what you were saying. I want to remind people that Representative Obernolte is having his mobile office on the 10th next week at the Yucca Valley Community Center between 2 and 4, and we want to keep the communication going on there. I plan to attend. You don't have to go for the whole 2 hours, so you can drop in, and I'm hoping others will go also.
Vice President Short and Director Flowen and myself will be meeting with him in his office in Washington, D.C. at the end of February.
Okay, we'll give him a heads up on
next
week. And referencing a couple of the reasons why the attendance to the national park might be dropping. I think that is a point in time, not necessarily a trend, although they may know obviously more than I do. But I do believe there was a significant federal shutdown last year, and I think that would have inhibited people going. And also, free days have now been cut out, which will cut down. And also the construction of the new entrance, I think they were shut down periodically when they were working on that project. And that might impact also.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jane Rogers is their superintendent. And she
Yeah.
reported she's seen a trend for 2 years of down, and it's actually on their website. You can check it out on the National Park website and see the trends in visitorship.
But I really think that it's not their fault. It's stuff, other things going on at the federal level.
People's focus shift after COVID. People were coming here because it was easy and close
too.
from Inland Empire. And now people are traveling further because everything's open.
Yeah, there's several reasons, obviously, but.
Director Flowing? Question?
Sort of, couple compliments. The guys that are doing the repair on the upkeep, so to speak, of the fire hydrants have been in my neighborhood. Point of for Jeff is that we have 1,400 fire hydrants in Joshua Tree, and the water company is responsible for all of them. I just wanted to compliment you on the 3 guys that were there. I have terrible memory about their names, but the senior guy has been an employee for 6 months, and the other 2 were less than that, weeks. And they didn't recognize me at first. I was just staring at them, just watching what they were doing. And then we chatted for maybe 5 minutes or so. I didn't want to hold them up. And also some of them were working while I was talking or listening to them. But they're just top flight guys. In this case, it's guys. But very, very professional, articulate people. And it's a compliment to you that you're the one that made the judgment to hire those guys. And I'm just totally satisfied. They were out today too. I saw them drive by. The second one would be for David, getting the Chrome 6 signatures on the petition. He was on his feet for hours doing that. And he was eyeballing everybody that went by, asking them if they lived in Joshua Tree or had an account with us, whatever. Very energetic about it, courteous, not aggressive, and persistent though, in just being out there. And I was surprised at how many signatures he was able to get. But it was very noticeable that he was fully involved with that kind of stuff. He's a frequent attendant, not even a visitor anymore, attendant at the booth. And I appreciate his spending his Saturdays with us and the energy that he put into it.
Imagine how many he could get if we had the whole frame.
How many?
It's pretty remarkable for one weekend.
A little under 200.
These people, you can't just say, we signed here.
Right.
You've got to sit there and explain the story.
Thank you, that's more.
All right. President Doolittle here, and I just wanted to, following up on what you said, will the kickoff, this document be included in the minutes? These in the letter, will those be included in the minutes?
I don't think so. They're just for your records. So it's not an official document. That's what I was provided from the county based on our meeting.
Well, moving on, item 10, we'll now move to agenda item 10, which are agenda items requested by the board. This item is for board members to request future agenda items, and you can see this on the list on page 5 after the agenda. I have a request. I would like to remove item number 4, the lawsuit with tiered rates, as evidently that will be discussed. And that's not a lawsuit for the district. That's, just talking about that in the industry. That will be discussed at a rate study level. So remove that. Vice President Short.
I have 2 things. I want to discuss the amount people are paying for their deposits. It's my opinion that I believe that those are too high. So I would like to have a discussion about that. Another thing I want to add is update the employee handbook to create room for incentives to help recruiting processes. I think we need to be proactive about that. So that way, if it does come to it, we've already planned for it and prepared.
I would ask that the handbook's coming to the board in June, scheduled for June. It's getting a refresh because it's a couple years old now. So it's an overwhelming project for one person, so I can add those items, but I'd like to bring it at that point, so we can do it all at once instead
Okay.
of chunk it.
Okay. That's all for me.
Director Fick?
I don't know if we'll post it, but there was a concern about some customer running up a huge water bill that was possibly going to exceed our entire allotment for the low income situation. That was 12,000. And the person who ran up the bill would max it out easily. So don't even post it yet, because I know it's probably going to be back when we're redoing our, fiscal year. But I would want to see our allotment of money towards this go up, but a cap put on, because obviously a $27,000 water bill could zap out the $12,000 situation. So we need to put a cap, and it's still in progress or pending.
Yes, sir. We're in contact with that customer. We're trying to get them the information for the aging department to see if they can help first. And we're pursuing every avenue that we can.
Yeah. It sounds like a small lake, $27,000 for the water.
It was a very thin river that went downhill for a month and 5 days.
Yeah, it's really important to spread the word. If you leave your property, you've gone turn off your customer bill. It's so important. You don't know what can happen when you're gone. We don't like seeing this. This is really, really devastating.
We tried to call the customer multiple times. Finally, we got a call back from the customer. Said, "Oh, I'm in Florida, and my irrigation person is supposed to be there. They haven't been there for X amount of days." So it's
So related to the cap, we do have some ideas for improvement and plan to bring that back to the board. And regarding the deposit, that I think Ann already has planned for.
It's on the
Bad
list
debt.
for, with bad debt, yeah.
Thank you.
Regarding the future agenda items, and it says right here that leads will be assigned by the general manager if the agenda item is presented to the board for direction. But can we not say in our meeting that we agree on something right now, that we want to have the sewer project updates number 2? Can we not, instead of it having to come back and the board say, we want to talk about that? Can we not say that right now, that, we want to talk about that?
I apologize, I'm not talking with.
Okay, so it says, that any, board members requesting an agenda item are expected to be prepared to discuss the item, including its anticipated benefits, alignment with the strategic plan, and any associated costs. Leads will be assigned by the GM after the agenda item is presented to the board for direction. So we're not just gonna it's ready to go then, right? We can do number 2 whenever we're ready. It's not gonna have to come before the board and say, do you guys want to do the sewer project updates?
Well, the lead is separate. The lead
Right.
is something I would assign.
Yeah.
He's going to be taking that on. So that's not really, those two things don't go together necessarily, but you're asking, when can the sewer project update come back to the board?
Well, yeah, I'm asking, I think I was confused thinking that these items had to be discussed, that we were going to move forward with them and put them on an agenda item.
These will get scheduled on the agenda.
Okay, we'll discuss
Yes,
it.
and then at that time, you'll discuss, what the next steps are. And
Well, so like the next step, so if we want sewer project update, we wouldn't discuss what the next steps are for the sewer project update. We would just get the update.
well, I guess this particular one that you're talking about doesn't really have a description of what that means. So I gave you one tonight. Are you wanting an update every time? I already planned to make sure that I share that information. Is this more specific? So I guess that there'd be a conversation we could find out later what that actually means.
Can we not, we can't talk about it now because it's not agendized?
That's
Okay, all right. Right, so, all right, then, this concludes this meeting. And I'd like to thank you, the staff, directors, and members of the public for your time this evening. With no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned.
Hold on.
No, we haven't voted on it.
Vote on it?
We did? Oh, okay. I'll entertain a motion to conclude this meeting.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, with, all in favor, say aye.
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 With no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned at 7:05.
Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Good night.
Bye.
Come on over to the market on Saturday. We'll be there.